but I think was really clever from Mike and Mike, the two guys who set it up, that it's always been a word of mouth agency, because, you know, a lot of the stuff we're talking about here is this thing about, you know, online and offline divisions, they're not going to exist very soon. You know, the way we talk nowadays about social media and about digital, I mean, even to me already, it doesn't make sense to the way I live my life. I do not think, am I a digital consumer right now? Or am I, you know, offline, which, you know, used to be called the real world. My mum gets really irritated when I talk about offline. She's like, hang on, do you like mean life? And I think the technology's moving that way. So if you look at stuff like the iPad, if you look at apps, if you look at augmented reality and stuff like that, all that's happening, you know, even things like Kinect, the gestural kind of technology they're using in gaming, everything that's happening is kind of getting the interface out of the way. You know, it's all about, let's remove the interface between the technology and the real world and just have it there, have the building displaying, you know, which of your friends are nearby to go to the cinema with you or something like that. And so this sense of kind of online versus offline is really weird. And like Michelle was just saying, you know, having a laptop with you or having a good phone with you and using that to log people in and stuff, that's very much the kind of thinking that's coming about things being much more mobile, much more integrated, and often just using your common sense. Because, you know, a lot of what I do, I head up our social business consultancy. So that means all the awesome this kind of stuff, getting people engaged, getting them talking. I kind of go a step earlier and work with businesses to go internally, what do we need to do to make you actually properly social from within? So it's not just conversation, it's not just something that people see, it's actually part of how they talk to each other. So, you know, what training do the staff need, what kind of tools should they be using internally, stuff like that. But I also do a lot of conferences and presentations, because there's still, you know, a big education piece to be done here about what is word of mouth, what is it in a kind of commercial sense. And there's a lot of smoke and mirrors about it. You know, when it's just about getting people sharing, it's getting people talking to each other. If there's a bit of advice I would give you this stuff is use your common sense. You know, like you were just saying, use stuff that you know that works. You know, humans are really obvious social creatures. You know, what makes people excited by stuff, what makes people share, what makes people enjoy stuff. And if you can tie in kind of online and offline together at the same time, then that's awesome, because you're just giving it a chance to amplify, you know, beyond that initial personal meeting. But some of the things we talk about are these word of mouth approaches. And this stuff has nothing to do with technology. I'm not a technology girl at all. I'm rubbish. I've got like seriously basic HTML. You know, I am a blogger, I do tweet and everything like that, but I'm one of these people who rides off the back of all this stuff being made really easy for all of us. But what I do love is the behavioural stuff. I love the psychology behind this stuff. You know, it's so fascinating. Why do people talk in the first place, regardless of the subject? You know, why do we share? What are those little forces? And if you start playing with some of that stuff, you kind of guarantee that what you're doing is working, regardless of the content of what you're trying to spread, because you're kind of tapping into those primal drives we have about why we want to be social and why we want to pass stuff on. So 4 nice little approaches that I'll just throw out there, because they can be good creative starters. You know, if you're starting with a blank page, you go, right, well, let's just look at one of these approaches and see what we can do there. I do have slides and stuff around this stuff, but I absolutely hate death by PowerPoint. You know, I think it was in November, I sat in New York having breakfast, watching some guy at the breakfast table like bring out his laptop. He was obviously a new business meeting or something, kind of tap through his slides. And I was like, seriously? So the first approach is authenticity. And that's kind of a really wishy-washy word, although I don't know if any of you guys have been kind of before this interested in marketing, word of mouth marketing, social media, stuff like that, even just social business. If you are, you will have heard that word, right? It's all about trust, it's all about transparency, it's all about honesty, openness, you know, personality, all these lovely kind of warm and fuzzy words. You know, go to business and say, to build word of mouth around what you're doing, you have to be authentic, is like the least helpful thing you can say to them. Because, you know, what does being authentic mean? I mean, it's like kind of going up to someone at a party and going, actually, I think you're not really being very authentic. How can I be more authentic? I'm just like me. But, you know, the truth is, actually, authenticity isn't about us. It's about other people. And I'm a bit of a Shakespeare nut, and there's two of his quotes that I really love. The one that people always think of, if I said authenticity, would be Polonius to Laertes, if any of you guys know Hamlet, when he says, "To thine own self be true," right? It's quite a famous pop culture quote right now. That idea that all of us inside us have like this golden bullet of usness hidden somewhere, and if we can just like not be kind of influenced by social kind of mores, and if we can just like stick to ourselves, then we are authentic, which is total nonsense. The much more useful thing he says is also in Hamlet, when the players are acting a play to kind of incriminate the king, and they say, you know, don't wave your hands around. What you want to do is hold a mirror up to nature, and that's what authenticity is. Because if you think about brands you find authentic, it's because they reflect something in you that you want to feel as part of your identity, right? You know, why do I have a Mac? Because I'm a massive cliche, a kind of middle class, Soho dwelling, London media, whatever. But you know, it works for me. I love beautiful products, but I like the branding. I like the way, you know, if I have a Mac, it does reflect a certain style, a certain fact that you like that kind of style. You know, Innocent are very clever at that. Innocent feel a very authentic brand to people because they're all kind of down to earth and happy and bouncy, and everyone wants to feel that way. Sustainable, eco-environmental. A more surprising brand is actually Starbucks, which to English people and Europeans, actually, you tend to go, whoa, are you serious? That's the least authentic brand, you know, it's big capitalist, commercial, killing all the little guys. But their chairman talks a lot about authenticity, and that's the central of everything they do. You can't deny they're quite successful. But if you look online, I don't know if any of you know My Starbucks Idea? No? It's cool. Some of this stuff, you know, just go play Google and things, but that's actually kind of a forum where they get Starbucks customers or fans to post basically R&D ideas. So to say, I think this drink would be awesome, I want you to change that, I want this is my idea for an awesome recipe, you should have this food. So they basically crowdsource all the ideas of how the company grows, and they actually feed it back. So they have a blog, My Starbucks Ideas in Action, blog that actually feeds back what they're doing. So again, it's not just about being authentic in what you say, it's about being authentic in what you do. You know, this is the heart of our organisation. And you know, I think for something like Wiggy, this is why you guys are all doing it, right? Because the whole point is the company doesn't want to be a load of, you know, people like us coming in and saying to people, oh, this is really fantastic, this is really going to help you. It's people who actually care about it and you know, tried it out and used it and think, actually, yeah, this is going to be genuinely useful for us. And you know, you're going to be resonant to the people you're talking to because you've had similar experiences, and you know, your students, your graduates, you're in that situation. So authenticity is a really good one. And you know, you can just start to think of how can I make this really authentic, you know, and you do it naturally by, in terms of your body language, in terms of your voice. You know, we all do that when we're talking to someone, kind of make ourselves more authentic to them. You know, I'll try and sound a bit less posh if I'm talking to certain people, not consciously, you know. This isn't manipulative, it's stuff we just all do subconsciously, it's the way human beings work. But you know, thinking about some of this stuff, you know, how do we make it really grassroots? How do we keep it quite rough and keep it quite, you know, relevant to that area? And so all those things feed into authenticity. This is turning into a bit of a monologue, by the way, but do yell at me and, you know, give examples of your own, or kind of say what you think as I'm going through.
In terms of authenticity,
yeah.
I'm guessing that, well, all of you guys are at the crossroads, aren't you? You're at a point now where you're studying, you're finishing your studies, you're trying to figure out what you want to do, which is exactly what Wigoo is all about. So where you are is what we're trying to resolve.
Yeah.
So there's a perfect synergy there, isn't there?
Totally, like the authenticity is in the uncertainty, almost. And what you're not saying is you're not saying this is going to solve all your problems. You know, this is the answer to your identity, but we get what you're going through. You know, this is backed by people who, you know, totally empathise about the difficulty of this situation. You know, what are your options? How do you kind of navigate those? So exactly.
But it also comes down to, as Steve and a couple of the guys have said, they know where they want to be. And it's them making the right choices. And those right choices are, where do you want to work? Which company do you want to work in? Which sector of that organisation? you know, it's not just making the choice, it's the granularity behind those choices which is important as well. And by the way, the question I would ask everybody is, are you sure? Because unless you've experienced it or talked to the people who've done it, you can't be sure. Because you're fooling yourselves if you are, you know.
And I remember, I mean, I think this is such an easy win in some ways, because I remember when I was, you know, at uni and going to the career stands and going to, you know, all the companies when they used to hold their seminars, and you'd go along to some of them because you just thought you might get free products or a free drink or something like that. And so many of them are quite inauthentic, they're quite gimmicky. You know, it's about actually, no, we are perfect, we are amazing, we are definitely the right company to work for, here, have some free chocolate, here, have some... And actually, yeah, the careers world feels quite an inauthentic one, or it did to me, as kind of a student or graduate. It'd be interesting to kind of know what you guys think. But actually to be a voice of reason and go, well, actually, it's not about PR and marketing and listening to these guys do their spiel. It's about talking to your peers, it's about talking to people who are in these jobs, it's about, you know, actually getting the truth of the situation. And so it's almost about deflating that kind of rhetoric and going, you know, we're not going to sell strap lines and great, you know, gimmicks and set up a bouncy castle and go, oh, let's all talk about Wicked. We're actually just going to, you know, talk about the reality of it. Okay, moving on. Kind of on the flip side of authenticity, the second approach I love to use is disruption. And I think, again, because it's quite a crowded market with careers, you know, it can be quite hard to stand out, and it can be quite hard to kind of cut through all the noise of people clamouring for your attention. I mean, the science behind this is the whole idea behind brain schemas, and now one of you guys is going to say, like, study neuroscience or something, you make me sound like an idiot. But the basic principle behind this stuff is, you know, the way we live is that we create patterns in our brains so that stuff becomes easy, right? So we don't have to think about how to tie our shoelaces every morning because we've embedded that neural pathway in our head. It's called the brain schema. And, you know, we just follow it without thinking. It's that same thing like if you're travelling, if you're commuting or travelling from one place to another that you do every day, you do it without thinking. You know, I'm terrified when I go home to my mum and I drive between her and my dad. I can get to his house and realise that I haven't looked at the road once. I literally couldn't tell you what was on the radio. You know, I'm looking out of the windscreen, I'm driving, but you just don't think about it because it becomes so automatic.
Have you ever arrived somewhere and actually had no remembrance of the route you took there or anything about the actual journey itself?
Yeah.
All the time.
I think that is partly a personality trait. As Michelle can attest, I can completely retreat to Molly World and do my own world.
I'm like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't remember any detail of the journey whatsoever, but you've arrived.
Yeah.
How did you get there?
Exactly. And this is a real
Aliens.
This is a real bugger for marketers because of course the thing is we filter out everything we don't want to see. You know, we've learned what things are useful for us, so we go around. So it takes a hell of a lot to penetrate into our consciousness. And we have whole brain schemas around, like, products and around categories of product. So if I said to you guys, an egg, you will all immediately, your brains will fire off a whole schema around that of what that means to you. And it will be different for every person. So for some person it could be all about, you know, there will be stuff about, you know, scrambled eggs and brunch and comfort and Easter and whatever. Someone else, it might be environmental issues and battery farming chickens and stuff like that. You know, depending on your learnt experiences and your history, everything has a schema. How this can be awesome is if you really disrupt, then it's the origin behind talking therapy. If you screw with someone's brain schema strongly enough, they literally have to talk, they have to express themselves in some way to bring their world back to kind of ordinary life. So do you guys remember the Hudson plane crash on the Hudson River in America? When the plane crashed, it was incredible. Everyone survived because of that awesome pilot. And there were those images of the plane basically like floating on top of the lake. It was awesome. That was the most talked about image that whole year. If you think about everything that happens in a year, like that was an awesome thing, but was it really that amazing? And the reason why is because just even that image played with our brain schemas so strongly. Number one, there was a plane that looked like it was flying in water. So So your brain, however much rationally you know what's going on, you see an image of just water and a plane in it, but like, not broken up, and it totally screws with your mind. Suddenly the elements have been flipped. And then when you see how they were rescued, people were just standing along the wings. It looked like some kind of air safety card. But if you think about plane crashes, you think about loss, right? You think about kind of in the jungle, bits and pieces, people strewn everywhere. And again, it kind of screws. You think plane crash, and you're like, whoa, but that you never see that in real life. It's so strange. And people actually had to share it. They had to talk to each other about it because it created such a strange kind of feeling in your brain. And as I said, that's the idea of talking therapy. If something happens to you that so mucks up your world, my parents love me, daddy loves me, daddy just hit me, then you literally have to talk about it to rebalance your idea of the world and kind of normalise yourself again. So, one way to actually apply this to stuff is take a product, a service, a brand, it could be careers guidance as a concept, and write down, and you guys could do this after I've kind of run through all the approaches, is to write down all the assumptions you make about that thing. So if you say careers guidance, what would the assumptions be? They could be words, they could be nouns, they could be adjectives, they could be colours. For me, careers guidance is eternally yellow, because that was the colour of the door to the careers guidance library in my secondary school. But all those different words, and then you list their opposites. And somewhere between the two, you'll start to find cool ways of disrupting that stuff. And I think, careers guidance is often seen as quite boring, quite, frustrating, or quite confusing, quite pressured, quite scary, all that kind of stuff. But if we start to look at the opposites of those things, actually, a lot of those things is what, WiGU is trying to do and be. And how can we maximise that? How can we work on that as something to kind of project? How can we, do something cool in these spaces on campus, in different places, that totally disrupts people, where something happens, an event, a sight, a sound, a smell, that is just so not what they would expect from something like careers guidance. The third approach, I'll just bash on through, so you've kind of got them all, is gaming. And I think, this one comes a lot out of, in terms of technology, out of things like Foursquare, out of geolocation, so that people are literally playing games with their surrounding environment. But if you look at a brand like Lego, they actually use social media brilliantly, and they've been using the ideas of gaming for years to actually really spread word of mouth about what they do. There's a woman called Professor Jane McGonigal who is awesome. I'd recommend kind of Googling her and watching her on YouTube. She works for the Institute for the Future, which is should be the best job title ever. And she basically investigates the science of gaming, but gaming mechanics. So, if I say gaming, the most obvious thing would be, how can we turn WiGU into a game? How can we turn it into a treasure hunt? How can we do? Which is cool. But actually, if you really want to get interesting, you look at the principles behind gaming. What is it about games that really make us engage? And how can you take those things and replicate them with word of mouth? So, for example, social gaming is huge. I mean, that's taken the internet by storm, and it's got women involved much more than kind of traditional gaming was seen as doing. But what she says the 4 things that gaming achieves, gaming mechanics do, is one, that it gets you involved in something bigger than yourself. So it's the sense of being a cause, the sense of being part of a community, the sense of being something, beyond yourself. Number 2 is the idea that you're doing something concrete. So you're actually doing something active that you're doing. But also, really importantly, number 3, that you're doing something that pushes you, that actually challenges you and pushes behind your comfort level. And it's really interesting to go, games do those things, okay, we'll get people involved in treasure hunt, they feel like they're involved in something, they'll do something, but so often they miss the detail. Actually, is it a little bit hard? And I think sometimes when you look at getting people involved in this stuff, or spreading word of mouth, we almost get a bit apologetic, and you don't want to push people. You don't want to ask anything of them. You want to kind of go, we'll make everything as easy as possible for you. Get involved, we won't ask anything for you. But actually, when you get people's loyalty and people's interest is when you start to ask them to challenge themselves and do something that's a bit tricky. So, clever brands you'll see doing stuff where people are getting involved, and they're like, oh shit, this is is actually really hard, but you get the satisfaction of kind of knowing what you're doing. And no wonder we all like to play games at the end of the day at uni or the end of the day at work, when theoretically work fulfills all those things, but in reality you haven't taken one thing, concrete thing, off the list that you were supposed to do that day. You're supposed to be working as a team, but all that's happened is that people have like pulled against each other and you don't feel like part of a team, and you haven't really challenged yourself, you've just done the same old stuff that you know you can do and get away with. And actually to then go into a world where you get, you've got 10 points because you did something, you did it better than anyone else, feels really damn good, It's kind of part of psychology. So again, if you're just starting from scratch, looking at something, go, how can we add gaming elements into? How can we look at a campus as a kind of, board game, the actual board, and how could we, or, as a kind of World of Warcraft community or whatever it might be, and how could we play with people that allow them to feel that? And the last approach is called observational learning. And this one, in some ways, is the most common sense one. And I think will fit in really well with what you guys are doing. But it involves, very little technology in a way. It's all about just offline, just people observing each other. And with word of mouth, people get terribly caught up in thinking about, so we'll get an influencer, someone influential, we'll get them to talk about something and to push it to their network online, right? Whereas actually how most stuff spreads is so much more random than that, and so much more multi-sensory. It's about me buying fish and chips from the guys down the road because I walk down this street like 3 times this week and I smell it. And then it will start to filter into my consciousness, and I know by Friday I'll want it, kind of thing. Or it's things like, you guys, any of you from London? Do you know London well?
I think they're all from London.
You're all from London?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We know on Oxford Street you get those little booths with the guys flogging perfume, and they get one of their mates to kind of stand outside and start a queue, and then people form around it, and then it gets a bit of buzz, and everyone kind of wants to stop and listen. Total observational learning there. And even though we know it's totally fake, there's something in you that pulls you to at least listen to a few sentences of what that guy is saying, because what if it is really interesting? There's a guy who made a work of art, a guy called Roman Ondak, who's a Eastern European, that's safe, I have no idea where he's from, artist. And he created this work of art in Basel Art Festival, and it also then came to London, and actually it's now being bought by the Tate, which is really interesting, because his work of art is a queue. So he hired 3 people to stand outside an empty building during Basel Art Festival, which is kind of in quite a small place. And people just came and queued behind them. Like 10 people would come and queue behind them for up to half an hour. There was nothing in that building. There was nothing going on. The door was locked. If they asked those 3 people what was going on, they were told to just kind of make something, like pretend they took a phone call, or just go, oh, mate, just come see the thing. Same as you. Something like that. It's hilarious. We're such animals like that. We love noticing what other people are doing. If you look at a lot of advertising, actually, I don't go into Topshop to buy a lace dress because I see a billboard with Kate Moss wearing a lace dress. And I think, oh yes, I must have one, and I go to Topshop. I do it because I go to Spitalfields Market and I walk around and I see in the course of one afternoon some cool as shit 15-year-old wearing a little bit of lace on her waistcoat or something that looks good, and some other guy wearing it on his hatband and it looks awesome, and some other girl. And actually, the level of the street is always where the actual trends come from. It's just then the designers and the marketers and everyone else kind of start to pick up on that zeitgeist. And so observational learning is how do you come in on that level? Rather than waiting until it's gone through the trend process and come out the other side, and then you kind of go, oh, by the way, guys, we'd like to get you interested in lace, it's already happened. But this is awesome. This is about thinking, how can you use sight, smell, visual cues to really get people involved? What is stuff that people are just going to be intrigued by, they're going to flock to, How can you get them experiencing stuff on a multi-sensory level? And what's great about campuses and unis is that they're natural kind of trend hubs. They're places where a lot of young, curious, visually driven, creative people come, kind of share ideas, watch, mingle, observe, and kind of take those and spread those further. So for me, that's also kind of, in some ways, one of the most exciting ones. So it's quite intangible, but you can do really awesome stuff and high-impact stuff just thinking about, could you do something that looks interesting, that smells different, it's just a little bit intriguing, and get this slight kind of herd effect going, where people just notice this stuff going on in different places. Where are the key few places on campus that you could have an object, or you could have something, or a person, or you could have something that, people just start to make these connections in their brains and go, oh, there's definitely something interesting going on there. So I've definitely talked for long enough. But those are some kind of anchors, I suppose, for thinking about word of mouth. And if you're kind of covering those in what you're doing, you're pretty well guaranteed that it's going to work, simply because you're working with kind of innate human drives, rather than sitting there and just going, yeah, let's be creative, let's have a pink elephant on Oxford Street because that's cool. Which is kind of wish what creativity was, in business, but it isn't. It's actually, what is the science and how do we tap into that. So, yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Guys,
Quite enough.
No, coming on to some of the things Molly said, I'm sure when you've been on holiday and you don't know something, you always go to the restaurant at store. Because why do we do that? You've never been there before. All the menus look the same, especially if you go down a marina or something, you go, right, okay, that's really busy, must be good. We can't help ourselves, right? We look at things and go, if the crowd's over there, we'll join the crowd. Very few people want to stand out and be on their own and be unique, because it's kind of hard and a bit. You can't be any good, can it? Nobody's in there. But the other point, the disruption piece, and you realise how important it is to shatter people's kind of comfort zones with this. We give you a good example. I went to Swansea University. Matt Summers, who's also involved with WIGU, went to Swansea University. So I contact Swansea University Career Service saying, guess what? This was launching WIGU. It's not some kind of tin pot thing. There's millions of pounds going into it, huge development, blah, blah, and we're trying to fundamentally change careers for good. Could you please get engaged in somewhere? No response. Then I connect to them on LinkedIn and speak to the people directly. I ring them and they kind of go, yeah, we might put it in the magazine, and they don't do it. And you think, do you know why? Those careers people, by the way, are going through a process. Their every day is, if I attend a few fairs, connect to Mars, connect to a few other people, get the milk round coming over, I've done my job. And most people think if they do their job according to some defined process, which is driving to your parents' house without thinking, isn't that easy? So you have to disrupt the way people think. And you have to, whether you're pulling in favours or create some kind of new thing happening to draw people's attention to it. Because most people are just comfortable doing what they're doing. Please don't upset my little world because I am doing this thing that I've done for 5 years. Even if it doesn't work and the results are rubbish, I've been told if I tick those boxes, I've done my job. And you've really got to break that up, in any way you can.
Yeah.
And a lot of these approaches work with each other. So like that idea that actually often disruption can feel very authentic. So, say if you were disrupting the kind of image of, careers guidance or, how you bring your job, and it suddenly seems fresh, and it suddenly seems new, and it suddenly seems authentic. So, all of these things kind of tie into each other. A lot of gaming uses observational learning to solve a lot of games. You have to do a lot of observational learning and see what's going on, and see what other people are doing and learn from that and kind of apply it to your own, journey, and then you kind of win. So, a lot of those approaches you will be using instinctively. It'd be interesting to go, behind a lot of those ideas we already have up will be a lot of those kind of themes running under.
Yeah.
It's sometimes useful to have stuff like that when you're just like, what the hell do I do next? And you just go, right, I'm going to do a list of assumptions I make about this stuff, do a list of opposites, and just go and work on some of the opposites and, disrupt some stuff. So.
I think a lot of those things will work particularly well on campus as well.
Yes.
I mean, do you think it's right in saying that, for example, disruption, as people get older, they're going to find disruption more challenging, aren't they?
Yeah.
And, people on campus will welcome that sort of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Disruption feels very authentic. And I think, campuses in themselves are a social network. They are social media. So, see the campus as, Facebook, what could I do on Facebook? We'll apply it to real life, apply it to that campus, because, all those online sites are mirrors of little social communities, really.
Yeah.
The great thing about campus is you have a kind of controlled environment. With some of our projects, we're literally tackling kind of the population of the mobile phone buying population of the UK, which is just so intangible. Whereas you guys, not only do you have that kind of controlled space, but you know your audience. You know what for them is authentic, what is going to be disruptive, and how stuff works. So, yeah, there's a lot of kind of good wins in here for this kind of situation compared to some other women out there.
Okay. Thank you, Molly.
No problem. I have actually got to go and
Yeah?
have a call now, so
Thank you. Mark.
lovely
Sure, thanks.
to meet you. Should I say talk with you? But if you've got any more questions, you want to find out any more about any of this kind of stuff, just ask Michelle. She's got my email address and stuff like that. And I'm always happy to send you links, send you books. I mean, people write whole books about this kind of stuff, but really interesting, really accessible. So.
Molly, will you sign up and join the internship group?
Yes.
Yeah?
Of course.
Sure. Take a green flyer there and I'll send you an invite. Fantastic. Okay.
It works.
Yeah.
I observed. I learned.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.
Bye.